In the spring of 1923, inside Cairo's Continental Hotel, the wealthy British aristocrat Lord Carnarvon is dying in agony. A severe fever has taken hold. At exactly 1:55 a.m., he takes his final breath. At that exact moment, the electricity across the entire city of Cairo fails. Thousands of miles away in England, Carnarvon's dog begins howling before she suddenly drops dead. Months earlier, Carnarvon had financed an expedition that cracked open a sealed 3,000-year-old burial chamber. Waiting outside that chamber was a warning: death shall come on swift wings to whoever disturbs the peace of the pharaoh. Over the next 6 years, 22 people connected to this specific tomb met violent or bizarre ends. A radiologist who examined the remains dropped dead. An 80-year-old father threw himself from a 7th-floor window. This horrific chain of events convinced the global public that the curse of the pharaoh was real. The question was simply how it was killing them, whether through ancient dark arts or a deeply seated psychological panic. In 1329 BC, Tutankhamun was a child inheriting a deeply fractured empire from his father. He was not the powerful, menacing sorcerer the newspapers later imagined. Generations of extreme royal inbreeding left Tutankhamun with severe physical disabilities, including a clubfoot and Kohler's disease, an incredibly painful degenerative bone disorder. He was frail to the point that he couldn't walk a single step without assistance. Alongside the solid gold artifacts, archaeologists discovered 130 different walking sticks. Tutankhamun died by the time he was 19. Because his reign was brief and politically chaotic, the rulers who came after him systematically struck his name from the historical record, intending to consign him to absolute oblivion. This attempt to erase him from history actually saved him. Because subsequent generations had no idea he existed, his burial site was entirely ignored by the grave robbers who plundered the rest of the Valley of the Kings for 3 millennia. That perfect isolation ended on November 26, 1922. After 15 years of entirely fruitless searching, and on his absolute last round of funding, British archaeologist Howard Carter finally chiseled a hole into a sealed doorway. What he saw inside was a pristine, untouched hoard of over 5,000 ancient artifacts, a solid gold coffin, a dagger forged from a fallen meteorite, and a 10-kilo gold death mask. It was an archaeological strike unlike anything found before or since. The discovery triggered an immediate global media frenzy. One newspaper, The Times, had exclusive rights to the tomb's updates. Rival publications, desperate for their own angles to sell papers, needed a hook. They fabricated the ancient curse tablet. A reporter asked the tomb's security guard about curses. The guard offered a cryptic smile, and the reporter ran with it. The terrifying warning tablet said to be mounted above the tomb's entrance never existed. The rival papers splashed the pharaoh's curse across their front pages week after week. Through sheer repetition, a frustrated journalist's invention became accepted global history. These mysterious deaths have remarkably clinical explanations. Several of the archaeologists who fell ill were suffering from Aspergillus niger. This is a highly resilient fungus that survived inside the sealed burial chamber, waiting thousands of years to be released back into the air. If you inhaled it today, a course of antibiotics would clear up the respiratory inflammation. But in the 1920s, penicillin did not exist. A fungal spore, or in Lord Carnarvon's case, an infected mosquito bite, often proved fatal. Even the eerie coincidences fall apart under scrutiny. Power grid failures in 1920s Cairo were routine infrastructure events, and when researchers matched the time zones, Carnarvon's dog died hours after he did, not at the exact same moment. A study tracked 25 people who entered the tomb against 19 who remained outside. Their mortality rates were identical. The average age of death for the supposedly doomed individuals was 73, placing them comfortably above global life expectancy for that era. Statistically, the data suggests that being exposed to the supposedly lethal air of the pharaoh's burial chamber actually correlated with living a longer life. Howard Carter, the primary target who broke the seal and handled the mummy, lived for another 16 years. Whenever a reporter would ask him about the curse, he would simply reply, "I am still alive." Ancient Egyptian theology suggests that a person only truly dies when the last living person stops saying their name. The global obsession with the fabricated curse branded the name Tutankhamun into the minds of billions of people. A disabled teenager whose own political successors actively tried to erase him from the memory of the world is now the most universally recognized pharaoh of antiquity. A fabricated tabloid rumor accidentally fulfilled the ultimate goal of every pharaoh. By forcing the world to repeat his name for a century, the curse granted a forgotten king true immortality.